Let me just start off by saying that I tried gold sauce today and that thing absolutely slaps. I'm not 100% sure how you're supposed to like eat the sauce, but I guess you could always just dip like your nugs in there, your french fries. Matter of fact, just actually dip your disgusting sausagey fingers in there and just eat the sauce that way. Or you could just spray it on your wife's cooking. Not that my wife needs like gold sauce to have her food taste good because it's already delicious. I should stop talking now, okay? I'm in trouble. I'm definitely sleeping on the couch tonight. My wife's food is delicious. It doesn't need any gold sauce, okay? I just need to fully clarify that. I'm definitely in the doghouse. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get serious here for a second, or as serious as you can get when it comes down to action figures, because we all know it's not that serious, okay? They're just action figures. But seriously, there's been something that Hasbro's been doing pretty consistently over the past couple of years, but we're starting to see them ramp it up even more, and that is locking some action figures behind exclusivities. In this particular case, we're only referring to Marvel Legends action figures, but they also do it with their Black Series line. And it's just gotten really interesting over the past couple of months, really. Now, we have seen some great examples of them launching exclusives without them really announcing them as exclusives, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I did a little bit of research, and from my understanding, why a lot of these manufacturers would do a retailer exclusive collectible is pretty straightforward. There's way less risk because you know that you're selling everything directly to one retailer, and usually there's way more profit going into your pockets because that particular retailer is forking up a little bit more profit from their own end just to have that exclusive collectible. So they'll probably shop it around. They'll let other other retailers bid on the opportunity to have that collectible be exclusive to only them, and Hasbro just makes way more money on the back end. Not to mention, they don't have to deal with shipping out to multiple different retailers. They just ship it to one, and then they just kind of clean their hands of it and they move on to the next collectible. Also, they don't have to mass produce these collectibles. They're only producing what Walmart or Target or Amazon wants. They'll manufacture the amount, they'll ship it out to them, and then they move on with their day. Now, why would these retailers want an exclusive collectible when it means that they're giving up a little bit of extra profit that would potentially go to them? Well, it's pretty straightforward. They'll get way more traffic on their websites because those collectibles are exclusive to them, and they'll also get way more foot traffic because a lot of those collectors are going into the physical store and shopping around, and the chances of them picking up more than just that collectible or that action figure, well, it increases with every collectible. They're having to go in there and, purchase other things that they probably would not purchase otherwise. So I think it's a win-win in that particular scenario, unless you're the collector, because then you're not winning at all. And there are some prime examples of this happening over the past few months on collectibles that didn't need to be exclusives. I thought that they would have sold pretty well if they were widely made available through every retailer that usually gets Marvel Legends. We have, for example, the retro carded Walmart exclusive Marvel Legends Venom, the one that came with a McFarlane head sculpt with that new articulated mid-torso. That was the first time they were ever trying that mid-torso for a Venom Marvel Legends action figure, and honestly, it might be the best Venom that we've received thus far. It does have, I think, pins. I forget if it was in the legs or also in the arms, but in terms of articulation, in terms of design work and the head sculpts and the accessories, this is like the prime version of Venom, at least up to this point. I think eventually they'll give us an upgraded one, but it was just kind of a dirty move for them to launch it through Walmart, considering it was an updated version of Venom. This wasn't like a reissue or a retooled version of an older Venom. Well, I guess it was, but it had some upgrades, and so there was more value added to it rather than just like a different paint deco or just a repaint of an older figure. Sometimes they'll do this where they'll have a 2-pack for a regular mainline release, and then they'll have the single carded version that sells through like a specific retailer. But in this case, this was a brand new Venom, and they decided to launch it through Walmart. Now, I will say this one was widely available. You could actually go out to your local Walmart, pick them up in store or you could also pre-order them through their Walmart, what was it, Collector Con. That one was made available for like a long stretch of time. I would like to say like maybe 3 to 4 days, where you could actually pre-order the figure. So people that did not pick this up were just really lazy, or they slept on it, or maybe they weren't collecting at the time. But this figure was pretty easy to acquire for a decent time frame. Eventually it did become quite difficult to find, and if you're looking to purchase it right now, you'll be paying about $60. Another great example, you have the Marvel Legends Target exclusive retro carded Carnage action figure. Now, similar to the Venom, this was an upgraded version over the previous one. There was slightly better sculpt work, I think, or a slightly better paint job on this one. And then it did come with some interchangeable hand pieces that were essentially like symbiotic weapons that can be ported on instead of the hands. And similar to the Venom, it was launched through an exclusive retailer, which made absolutely no sense. As I mentioned previously, you did have one Carnage, and I could be wrong, but I don't think that one came with any extra accessories, maybe an extra head sculpt, and that was it. This one actually came with, I mean, essentially the same figure. I think it was the same body mold, same sculpt work and everything, just a slightly different paint job, and then the extra hands. Now, compared to the Marvel Legends Venom that was a Walmart exclusive, this one was a little bit more difficult to find because it was actually not available online for like a long stretch of time. Usually it would pop in and out of stock, and then if you really wanted the figure, you were probably going to have to visit your local Target, which is something that I did. I was able to find a couple of them. I just picked up the one that I needed, but it was just a very interesting situation, and it made collecting, I think it made collectors be on edge during that entire time frame, because people were just trying to find this figure, and it appeared that there were a lot of flippers and scalpers purchasing multiples of these. Now, what's interesting, this one hasn't garnered as much value. I think if you're looking to purchase it, you can find it about for low 40s to mid 40s, which really isn't that bad, but still, it just feels like Hasbro missed an opportunity here. This was a really good collectible, a really good action figure, and I think it definitely deserved a mainline release. Now, I do feel like there is an upgrade coming soon for a Marvel Legends Carnage, because the last one that we got that was new, like 100% from head to toe, was the MCU version, or the Let There Be Carnage version. So I feel like we're definitely due for a new comic book accurate Carnage, but still, it hurt a lot of collectors to not be able to pick this up, especially if they live in a rural area here in the States, and it was, you know, maybe they don't have Targets around, or if they do have a couple of Targets, sometimes they don't stock collectibles as well. Let's not forget that retro carded Marvel Legends Lizard action figure that was also a Walmart exclusive. This one was pretty difficult to find online. I think you had to actually go in person, but still, it was a really good release. I think from my understanding, it was a retooled version of an older one, or it might have been a brand new sculpt from head to toe, but it came with a ton of different accessories. It came with a different articulation scheme. It came with an alternate head sculpt. I mean, they really went above and beyond with this figure. Actually, if you're looking to purchase this version, you'll be paying over $100 on eBay. So it just goes to show there was a ton of demand for this collectible, for this figure, and unfortunately Hasbro decided to again lock it behind an exclusive release, especially for a retro carded animated style line, which usually always sells well. Anytime that there's something that's animated related and is in a retro card, it just makes sense to make it available to everybody, because a lot of those retro carded action figures that are Spider-Man related, they just sell out and then eventually become extremely hard to find on the secondary marketplace. Speaking of Walmart exclusives, there's actually one that's happening right now, and it's that Ghost Spider action figure, which I think is just a skin from the PlayStation video game universe, but it was interesting because it's a really cool, neat design. I actually like the idea of this. I'm not a huge fan of that PlayStation universe because I'm an Xbox dude, okay? Microsoft all day, but seriously, it's a good solid figure with decent articulation and an amazing looking head sculpt, but it is a Walmart exclusive as of the moment of this recording. Now, this one isn't really that difficult to find. If you want to purchase them even like on eBay, or if you want to find them at your local Walmart, it isn't that difficult to find, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest behind that particular figure. And see, that one makes a lot more sense. That's an example of something that should be an exclusive figure because there isn't that demand. It's a figure that's going to have a tiny little following. There's a very small fan base for it. It's not going to sell out immediately. It's probably going to sit on store shelves for a little bit. The people that really want the figure, or people that collect anything that Hasbro releases, will probably pick it up, but I don't think there's as much demand for just a skin of a particular Spider-Man character from a video game, if that makes any sense. I just don't think that there's going to be like this giant revolt against Hasbro if this is made into a store exclusive. But the list goes on and on. There was also that cel-shaded, retro-carded Spider-Man action figure that was also a Walmart exclusive. And this one, I think, also has a knockoff already being mass-produced through AliExpress. So if you guys want to take the risk on it and just buy it through AliExpress, I think you can pick it up for like $10 to $15, which isn't really that bad. I've heard some pretty good reviews from those AliExpress Marvel Legends action figures, especially the retro carded line. But if you're looking to purchase the original one, which is getting way more difficult nowadays because you don't know who's lying, you don't know who's telling the truth on eBay, you'd be paying about like $50 to $60. As I mentioned, there was a ton of support for this figure. They wanted to sell. A lot of people have wanted a cel-shaded Spider-Man action figure for quite some time. It came with a decent array of accessories, even webbing accessories, so it just made sense to make this available to more people, and instead it was locked behind another Walmart exclusive. And then if you actually think that I'm just giving you guys examples from like a few years ago, I'll give you guys some examples of something that just got announced within like, I don't know, the last couple of weeks. We are seeing the Mystique and that new Storm retro carded action figure. Both of them are going to be made available through Target. I know, it just doesn't make any sense. Mystique is a pretty big X-Men villain. The last time we got a Mystique, I don't know, it felt like a decade ago, and it was on a really old body mold. I think this one's going to have some upgraded technology. It's going to be on one of the newer female bugs, so it just makes sense, right, to make it available to everybody, but unfortunately, Target exclusive. And then Mysterio, also going to be an exclusive, this time to Walmart. This is based on the animated series. It's in that beautiful retro card. It's going to have, I think, the first time that they're ever releasing an unmasked Mysterio head sculpt. And a lot of the accessories that are being offered here, like the little magic accessory pieces, are brand new. They've never been utilized before. This is the first time we're seeing them in plastic form. But you're going to have to jump through hoops here. You're going to have to either hit the pre-order window or hope that you're able to visit like 10 different Walmarts, you know, within your area and actually be able to purchase this figure. And as I mentioned, this is a highly coveted version of the character. This may be a lot of people's like end-all Mysterio, even if you're not necessarily a huge fan of the animated series. If you just want a stand-in as like a comic book style Mysterio, this actually makes a lot of sense. We also recently just talked about the Super Skrull action figure, which is supposed to be an exclusive to the New York convention. And then eventually I think they're going to make it available as a very limited quantity. You guessed it, now we're moving on to Hasbro Pulse. So it will be made available through Hasbro Pulse. And they're probably going to continue using that same format that they have been using now for the past few months, where the members get first dibs and then everybody else. If there are some of these still available, then you're going to have a shot at it. But it's exclusive to the convention, and then eventually we should be able, us normies that did not attend the convention, should have a small little window where you can actually purchase this figure. And then that Star Fox 2-pack is also a fan channel / Amazon exclusive. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more widely available, which doesn't make any sense. I don't think that many people were starving for a new Star Fox action figure, or I should say the first time that we're ever seeing him in action figure form. But still, is there that much of a demand for this particular character to make him widely available as a fan channel? And then Amazon, I mean, Amazon is one of the bigger retailers out there, and they're probably going to be able to purchase quite a few of these to sell on their website. So it just doesn't make any sense. My reptilian brain isn't quite computing what's happening here. Why are they making some characters that are like highly coveted and just that have a huge foundation, a huge fan base? Why are they making those exclusives? And yet some of these other, lesser known characters, C-list characters, why are they making them slightly more available? It just doesn't make any sense Why is Hasbro really not doing their homework on their own characters here? They also had the Nick Fury and Punisher 2-pack, which is based on the video game. That one is also going to be a fan channel plus Amazon exclusive. So I think we're inching or moving closer to an era where every single collectible is going to be sold through a very specific source. They're going to be sold through a very specific retailer, regardless of who the character is, regardless of whether it's going to sell out or do incredibly well. They're just not going to take the risk as consistently nowadays. I think that mini comic book retro carded line will be made available through like every single retailer, but I think that's going to start to be way more of a scarce situation, right? Like before, it felt like once in a while you would get store exclusives. Now I think it's going to reverse, and we're going to start to see way more action figures, way more characters, way more variants become exclusives to retailers, regardless of whether they have, I think, the fan base or the support to be able to sell high volumes. It doesn't matter. I don't think Hasbro is interested in taking any risks. And let's be brutally honest, a lot of this has to do with the tariffs. A lot of it has to do with just the lack of interest, I think, from the community. I also believe the Maximum Marvel Legends line will also play a role in this. If that line is not like incredibly successful, I think going forward, they're going to have to start cutting back, because they've definitely invested a ton of money into that line and a number of other lines, and they just can't afford to have all of these figures eventually hitting clearance sections and, you know, hitting clearance stores like Ross and Burlington and Ollie's and so on and so forth. So I think this is a way for them to stop the bleeding. They only manufacture enough for one retailer, and they're able to pocket way more profit into their own account. So that just makes way more sense in the long run for Hasbro, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense for the community though. For the collector, we're gonna have to grovel and ask Target employees to look in the back. We're gonna have to like be ready to smash pre-order buttons and just rage and rip out our tiny little hairs. The little amount of hair that you have on your head, you're gonna end up ripping that out, because it's just going to get way more frustrating. It's going to get way more difficult to find any of these figures. By the way, I forgot to mention the Psylocke and Thanos 2-pack from the Gamerverse line. That was also a Target exclusive. So let's continue with this. I could do this all day, but all jokes aside, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys agree, disagree? Do you guys like store exclusives, or is it very difficult to be able to find some of these figures by you? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, if you guys enjoy this type of rambling action figure content, make sure to stay tuned. We're doing it pretty consistently. Make sure to enjoy the hobby as well. Play with your action figures, play around with them. I know it's kind of difficult nowadays with, you know, the world going crazy, but also the collector community kind of running into its own issues. It's definitely difficult, but it's important to kind of make a little bit of time to just relax, sit back, chill, pose your action figures, play around with them, all that good stuff. On a side note, I actually did end up seeing that little update for the McFarlane live stream. So he is supposed to be having one, I believe, on the 18th of September. And it's funny because in the previous video, I was essentially clowning on him and just bashing him for not doing any more of those like live streams where they showcase the new merchandise or the upcoming action figures that they planned on releasing in the foreseeable future. And then literally like the next day he decides to announce a live stream. So I apologize, okay? McFarlane will have a live stream, and I guess he's going to announce all of his new figures. But I will say it's a little bit frustrating because the last few live streams, he only showcases like the bare bones figure. It doesn't showcase the packaging, any of the extra accessories, any extra hands, head sculpts, or anything like that. So I'm not sure exactly what he's going to be doing this time around, but hopefully it's a little bit more in depth. There's, you know, we get to take a closer look at all the accessories and things of that nature. So definitely stay tuned. As soon as he uploads that live stream, I will hop on and do a little quick recap for you guys, similar to the way that I did for the Marvel Legends, or for the Hasbro Marvel Legends live stream. So on another side note, if you want to continue supporting us just as creators, you guys could definitely check out our secondary channel. It's kind of a little bit of a side project. We're just going to try it out. If it doesn't work out, then that's fine. We'll just, you know, forget about it. But we did start off a secondary channel that's about like Disneyland and just Disney related topics. So if you guys want to check that out, you guys can definitely do so. But stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.